Imagine your phone ringing in the dead of night. The screen flickers to life, displaying a number you don't recognize. You hesitate. It's almost 3 a.m., but curiosity gnaws at you, and with trembling hands, you answer. That's exactly what happened to Sarah. Sarah had always been a night owl, but this night felt different, thicker, darker, as if the shadows were alive. Her small apartment, usually a haven of comfort, seemed to press in on her. It was one of those nights where the silence wasn't just empty, it was watching, waiting. She was curled up on the couch, lost in a book, when her phone buzzed on the coffee table, startling her. The screen flashed an unknown number, and it was an odd time for anyone to call. Ignoring it felt easy, but the phone buzzed again, more insistent this time. "Who's calling at this hour?" she muttered, annoyance mixing with unease. Against her better judgment, she answered, "Hello?" The line crackled with static, and for a moment, she thought no one was there. Then a voice, faint and distant, whispered her name. "Sarah." Her heart skipped a beat. She didn't recognize the voice. It was cold, almost inhuman, like the sound of dry leaves rustling in the wind. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. "Sarah, why did you leave us?" the voice continued, sending a chill down her spine. She hung up, heart pounding. It had to be a prank, someone with a twisted sense of humor. But as she stared at the phone in her hand, it rang again, the same number. No way," she whispered to herself, too frightened to answer this time. But the ringing continued, relentless, as if the phone was demanding her attention. Finally, unable to bear the suspense, she answered once more. This time the voice was clearer, sharper, filled with something dark and malevolent. "You can't hide from us, Sarah. We're coming for you." She dropped the phone, backing away as if the device itself was cursed. The air around her felt thick, suffocating, like she was drowning in it. The shadows in her apartment seemed to stretch and shift, taking on forms that shouldn't exist, twisted shapes that flickered at the edge of her vision. This isn't real," she repeated, trying to convince herself. But deep down, she knew something was very wrong. Suddenly, the lights in her apartment flickered and went out, plunging her into darkness. She could hear her own breath, ragged and panicked, and something else, footsteps slow and deliberate, moving towards her. "Sarah?" The voice echoed through the room, but this time, it wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from behind her. She spun around, but there was nothing there, just the thick, impenetrable darkness, yet the footsteps grew closer, louder, like someone or something was stalking her. Her pulse raced, her mind screaming at her to run, but her feet were frozen to the floor. Then, the footsteps stopped, and the silence that followed was even more terrifying. "Please, just leave me alone," she whimpered, but the only response was a low, guttural laugh that reverberated through the room. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a flicker of movement, a shadow shifting, taking form. It was a figure, tall and gaunt, its eyes glowing a sickly yellow in the darkness. It grinned at her, a grotesque smile that stretched impossibly wide. "You can't escape us, Sarah. We've waited so long, and now you're ours." She stumbled backward, trying to flee, but her back hit the wall. The shadowy figure advanced, its hand reaching out, long and clawed. She could feel the cold radiating from it, the air turning frigid as it approached. Just as the figure's hand was about to touch her, the lights flickered back on. The figure vanished, and the room returned to normal. Almost. Sarah was left trembling, her body drenched in sweat, heart pounding in her chest. Her phone lay on the floor, screen cracked but still functional. She picked it up, hands shaking, and stared at the screen. A text message had appeared from the same unknown number. "You can't escape us, Sarah. Not tonight. Not ever." She threw the phone across the room, the fear overwhelming her. But deep down, she knew it wasn't over. The shadows had found her, and they wouldn't stop until they had her. The phone rang once more, and this time, she didn't answer. She knew better, but as she curled up on the floor, terrified, she could hear the voice, faint but persistent, echoing in her mind, "Sarah, Sarah, we're coming for you." And that, dear listeners, was Sarah's story, a cautionary tale that reminds us all some calls are better left unanswered. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more terrifying tales that'll keep you up at night. Until next time, keep your phone close, but be careful who you answer, because you never know who or what might be on the other end.